Good afternoon. Welcome to this baccalaureate service honoring the class of 2014. We are so pleased you could be here today to worship and pay tribute to our graduates. We're privileged and honored to have as our speaker today someone who matters so much to our college and the world of scientific discovery, Dr. Bill Evans. During his tenure as CEO, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital has made remarkable strides in treating and defeating childhood cancers. He'll be introduced to you more fully later in the program, and tomorrow will receive our college's highest honor. Our chaplain, the Reverend Walt Tennyson, will come in just a moment to introduce members of the class of 2014 who will be leading in today's service. They represent a truly outstanding class. This afternoon's service and tomorrow's ceremony are filled with feelings of pride and joy. Please also know our gratitude for your support of your graduate. On behalf of our class and our college, thank you for the role you've played in your graduate success. Chaplain Tennyson.
Baccalaureate is an occasion to set the accomplishments of the past few years in the larger context of life's journey and the direction of human history. Students leading our service today have distinguished themselves through inspiration of others and the way they have reached out to fellow students and the world around them. Maggie Cupid is a chemistry major, religious studies minor from Brookhaven, Mississippi, a St. Jude Research and Summer Plus Program Fellow, two-time Vice President and Scholarship Chair of Chi Omega. A Mayo Clinic Medical School is in her future to pursue a career in pediatric oncology. Shelby Hardaway is a religious studies major, a Spanish minor from Austin, Texas, an intern at MIFA, middle school teacher with Teach for America in Dallas is coming up next year. Morgan King is a religious studies major, a French minor from Georgetown, Tennessee, has been an RSA in the Language Center and a French Club officer. Next year will be teaching English in Paris in the Teaching Assistance Program through the Cultural Services of the French Embassy, and after that on to Princeton University. McKenna Llewellyn is a religious studies major from Scottsdale, Arizona, a Bonner Scholar, has done research under the Hyde Award, and has been a Hotzenbuehler Fellow. Next year, she'll be a Dean's Fellow at Boston University School of Theology. Grace Southworth is a Spanish major, religious studies minor from Atlanta. She's been a campus safety officer and has surely seen many things at Rhodes in that role, and a member of the Kappa Delta sorority. She is on to Candler School of Theology at Emory University for a Master of Divinity to be a chaplain. Brian Chang is a commerce and business major, Chinese studies minor from Memphis, a Bonner Scholar, the finance director of Globe Med. This summer, he'll have an internship with Ernst & Young, pursuing a master's in accounting at Rhodes next year and sitting in on CPA examinations. And Charles Walker is a biology and anthropology sociology interdisciplinary major from Memphis. He has been a varsity athlete in track and field, member of the Globe Med Executive Board, and is entering the accelerated nursing program at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center. Today we celebrate these and all of our graduates.
As we begin this commencement weekend for the graduating class of 2014, we recognize that there have been remarkable people that have come before us that have made Rhodes the college it is today. This past weekend, on May 3rd, President Emeritus James Harold Dodrill Jr. passed away. He served as president of the college for 26 years. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor his legacy and memory. And now, please join me in prayer. Loving God, we come to you today full of mixed emotions. We are excited, anxious, tired, and relieved with the conclusion of the school year. We also stand here today filled with gratitude. We are grateful for the constant support and love from our families. We are grateful for the lifelong friendships we have formed and that have formed us. We are grateful for the faculty, staff, and administrators who have challenged and inspired us to learn, to love, and to serve. Lord, fill us with gratitude, humility, love, and faith. Continue to teach us the joys of service and generosity. Help us learn from our experiences. Show us where to go for help when we need it. Help us remember the blessing of opportunity that we have had at Rhodes College. Help us appreciate all of the memories, the lessons, and the relationships from the past 4 years. We thank you for being with us today and during the days to come. As we go through this baccalaureate service and our commencement tomorrow, let us hear your voice, calling every one of us present to receive a word of purpose and direction in life. Together, we seek your blessing as we step into the future and make our mark on the world. Help us share our gifts with everyone we encounter. Lead everyone in the paths that are best for them. Help us remember the words from the book of Jeremiah, verses 11 through 13. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. We pray all of these things in your name. Amen.
I'll be reading from Ecclesiastes 11. Do good things everywhere you go. After a while, the good you do will return to help you. Divide your means 7 ways, or even 8. You don't know what bad things might happen on earth. If clouds are full of rain, they will pour water on the earth. A tree can fall to the north or south, but it will stay where it falls. If a person waits for perfect weather, he will never plant his seeds. And if he is afraid that every cloud will bring rain, he will never harvest his crops. You don't know where the winds will blow. Begin planting early in the morning and don't stop working until evening. This is because you don't know which things you do will succeed. It is even possible that everything you do will succeed.
A reading from the second epistle of Peter. God's divine power has given us everything needed for life. For this very reason, you must make every effort to support your faith with goodness, and goodness with knowledge, and knowledge with self-control, and self-control with endurance, and endurance with godliness, and godliness with mutual care, and mutual care with love. These gifts will keep you from being ineffective and unfruitful.
And I believe. Would you join with me in prayer? O God, we have worked long and hard. We have been stretched and guided. We have grown alongside dear friends. And now we have arrived on the eve of a great celebration. Today we stand in the strangeness, in the clumsiness of liminality, of the space between spaces. We face the awkwardness of no longer being immersed in our lives, schedules, and coursework here, but not yet being connected to what will come next. Walk with us, God, in the tension of this strange middle space. Help us to dwell in it fully while we are here, to resist the temptation to sprint through this strangeness of today to the celebrations of tomorrow. Let this be a time of remembering those who made our arrival here possible. There is joy in the presence of faculty, friends, mentors, and family here with us, and there is sorrow in the noted absence of others who saw us begin this journey but are not with us today. Let it also be a time to pause in gratitude and in wonder at all of the things we have learned and will carry with us. Let it be a time for dreaming, for imagining the possibilities of what might lie ahead. For each of us will be sent from this place into something new, and as that perhaps unsettling reality settles in, help us to greet the challenge with the gifts we gathered in our time at Rhodes. We go with knowledge, with kindness, and with the awareness that we do not leave in isolation, but as one of many who have crossed the stage before us and who will cross it again alongside us tomorrow. Wherever we might go next, may we work with passion, but rest with equal fervor. May we speak boldly and with confidence, but also learn to love silence and be quick to listen. And may there be, above all else, endless compassion. Compassion for those whose words and actions are full of hatred, for those who stretch our minds and our patience, for those who are aching and in pain, for our friends and family on the journey, and compassion for ourselves in the midst of new life. Let us go forward with a desire to love deeply and to seek peace above all else. It is in your many names that we pray these things. May it be so. Amen.
Last night, my roommates and I stayed up really late talking about our favorite memories together at Rhodes. And as I looked around at some of the best friends I've ever had, I realized just how many ways Rhodes has changed my life. The truth is, my time here has been so filled with experiences and people and changes and growth that Rhodes has become part of my identity. I can vaguely remember the pre-Rhodes me. I began with a very thorough search for the best college, 15 applications, plenty of acceptances, and a rigid determination to go to the school with the biggest name and most prestige possible. I wanted everyone to know how amazing my school was based on its reputation alone. I paid a deposit to another school, and then in early May of my senior year, I got a phone call, and Rhodes changed my life for the very first time. President Trout was calling in an attempt to recruit me. I tried not to let him sway me, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized how odd it was that the president of a college had taken it upon himself to call me, a student he didn't even know. A few days later, I took a risk and dialed the number on my caller ID. It was President Trout's cell phone, and he actually answered. After a few more long conversations, days before my high school graduation, I changed my college plans. I put aside my obsession with huge names in favor of a place full of people who cared about me and my education. I had no idea how fruitful that decision would be. My freshman year was the most exciting year I had ever had. It was challenging, stimulating, exciting, eye-opening. I learned about things that I never knew existed, made connections with people that changed me forever, and as cliche as it sounds, I found myself. By the end of the year, I decided to become a chemistry major and had been accepted into the Rhodes St. Jude Summer Plus program, a program that would allow me to spend 2 entire summers doing lab research at St. Jude. I was ecstatic. I didn't know much about cancer, but I did know that I loved science, and that was enough for me. But it seems that the universe had other plans. As many of you probably know, as soon as my freshman year ended, I went to see a doctor about a recurring pain in my right leg, and on May 7th, 2010, I found out that what I thought was a pulled muscle was actually a 7 by 8 centimeter malignant tumor, a type of pediatric bone cancer called Ewing's sarcoma. The cancer stretched up my right tibia and into my knee bones, as well as the surrounding soft tissue. The only good news that day was that we'd found it before it had spread to my lungs and the rest of my body. Being diagnosed with cancer, just as my life was taking shape, just as I was beginning to follow my dreams and find my place in the world, was devastating. But as I waited for my leg to heal from my biopsy before I could begin my chemo, I got a phone call, and Rhodes changed my life for the second time. It was President Trout. He'd heard the news about my cancer diagnosis, and he wanted me to know that there was a place for me at St. Jude if I wanted it. He gave me the cell phone number of an oncologist, Dr. Alberto Papo. He told me to call the number if I decided that I wanted to be treated at St. Jude instead of near my home in South Mississippi. My mom told me that it was my decision, and for whatever reason, not knowing much about St. Jude at all, I called the number. I think I trusted President Trout knew what was best for me. Dr. Papo said he would see me on Monday, and a few minutes later we were packing our bags. As you may know, St. Jude does not turn down patients based on their inability to pay, but being a research hospital, it accepts patients on a protocol basis, which basically means that there is a certain amount of space for patients with each type of cancer. When I was diagnosed, the protocol for Ewing's sarcoma was full. There wasn't any room for me. But because President Trout was looking out for me, he contacted a Rhodes trustee who just happened to be the CEO of St. Jude. And because this college is governed by a group of people who genuinely care about the well-being of their students, a place was made for me there. On May 15th, 2011, I checked into St. Jude as a patient, the day that I was supposed to begin my Summer Plus research. And even though I was on a medical leave of absence, Rhodes had found a way to take care of me once again. I spent May of 2010 to May of 2011 as a patient at St. Jude. In 1 year, I received 15 cycles of chemotherapy, a limb-sparing surgery to remove my tibia and knee bones and replace them with metal, and months of painful physical therapy. I will never be able to say with honesty that my battle with cancer was easy, that there was a day that went by that was free of pain or nausea or fear, but it did allow me to be a part of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, the most amazing place I have ever been, a place too powerful to convey with words or even pictures and videos. Somehow my cancer treatment, though it had its ups and downs, had a lot of ups. And even on the days that I felt like I couldn't go on any longer, St. Jude found a way to put the life back into me. I cannot tell you what it is like to be treated at any other hospitals for cancer, but I can tell you that none of them are anything like St. Jude. When I wasn't getting chemo, the days passed so slowly that I could hear the clock ticking. I spent a lot of time dreaming about things that made me want to keep living. I dreamt of Rhodes. I dreamt of the friends I had made my freshman year, the teachers and the classes that had taught me so much, and what it would feel like to study again. I closed my eyes and thought about my many mock trial adventures, my old suite mates, and what it would be like to actually work at St. Jude instead of being a patient there. I dreamt of sorority formals, Oak Alley, and even the food in the rat. On my sickest days, I clung to the hopes of returning to this special place, the place where I felt like I truly belonged once again. In this way, Rhodes helped save my life. I had too many beautiful memories here of how stimulating and fulfilling life could be for me to let go of the chance to be here again. I once thought that nothing in the world could be as difficult as my year of cancer treatment. But I've since learned that recovery is in many ways every bit as difficult as illness itself. By the time I had finished my treatment, an entire year had passed, but it felt like so much longer. My body was so weak and drained from chemo that walking across the room was nearly impossible. 3 months later, though I had only a little hair and a very noticeable limp, I was able to convince my family and doctors that I was ready to return to Rhodes. Looking back, I can see how difficult it was to transition from another world back into the world of college. For a whole year, every hour of every day for me had revolved around fighting an illness, being a patient, getting through the chemo at hand, and moving on to the next. I relied on my mom for everything. I was like a 5-year-old all over again. My concerns consisted of trying to manage my nausea and pain, cope with my roller coaster of emotions, and grieve the loss of a few close friends that I had made at St. Jude who didn't make it. It seemed like an impossible task to return to a world where people worried about things like studying for finals and finding a date to the fraternity formal, a world where everyone had hair and walked without a limp and thought the flu was pretty bad. I was afraid, but I was determined to feel the magic of Rhodes again. With the help of this community, I managed to begin this transition, and once again, Rhodes, in some sense, saved me. People here were strong enough and supportive enough to remember me, to embrace me upon my return. Even though I'd been away, I hadn't been forgotten or abandoned. I felt strengthened by old friends that remained waiting for me, and even more so by the strangers in my new class who had already heard about me and were eager to befriend me. I was never the girl who had cancer. I was always just Maggie, tied to my cancer because it had changed my life, but never defined by it. From the friend who rushed me to the hospital when my legs started hurting, which we later found out was from too much dancing, to the boy who took a risk and dated me even though he had no idea if I would relapse or not. People here embraced me and nurtured me in a way that no other college environment could have. And over the past 3 years, Rhodes, this community, all of you, have helped me transition from being a cancer patient to being a person with an exciting present and future once again. I did get to do that St. Jude research. I spent my sophomore year and the following summer working in a stem cell and cord blood oncology lab with a bone marrow transplant doctor. When I finished my research there, I spent my junior year and the following summer working in an organic chemistry synthesis lab, developing new drugs, and got to write an entire review on new anti-malarial drugs, which was published. Rhodes also allowed me to shadow many St. Jude doctors, including my own Dr. Papa, which led me to form connections with the palliative care team at St. Jude. This semester, I helped author a review article for the Pediatric Clinics of North America about end-of-life care for hospitalized children, and I am now determined to pursue my own career in pediatric oncology. But this story, this speech, isn't about me, because I know that many of you feel that Rhodes has impacted you, has changed your lives in many ways, whether it was through providing you with opportunities to make a difference in the world around you, or providing you with the love and support that you needed when life threw you a curveball, as it often does. I know that I am not alone in this. I've heard it from many of you. I often wonder how different my life would have been if I hadn't answered that phone call from President Trout my senior year of high school, if I hadn't come to Rhodes, and if I hadn't been treated at St. Jude. It's cheesy to say that everything happens for a reason, and I'm really not sure if I believe that that's true, but I do know that everything in my life fell into place perfectly, and that my time at Rhodes College has made me who I am today. Some people who hear about my life so far say that I am strong or inspiring, and I'm sometimes admired for what I've been through, but believe me when I say that this praise is severely misplaced. I'm not only alive today, but thriving because of two places, Rhodes College and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and the amazing people who form them. These are the places my life has taken me, and these are the places that have taught me the most so far. While I would not have ended up at Rhodes without the encouragement of President Trout, I would not have ended up at St. Jude and might not be alive today without the help of a very special Rhodes trustee, the CEO of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Dr. William Evans is renowned in the scientific community for his many publications and advancements in the field of pharmacogenomics, and has led St. Jude to make incredible strides during his 10 years as CEO. Under the leadership of Dr. Bill Evans, St. Jude has announced a cure rate of 94% for the most common childhood leukemia, ALL, and launched the largest ever investment in whole genome sequencing of childhood cancer. and has remained on the Fortune magazine annual 100 Best Companies to Work For list and in the top 10 Best Places to Work in Academia by the Scientist magazine, among many other things. Despite all of his successes, Dr. Evans has remained humble and true to his Rhodes roots, never too busy to attend a Rhodes trustee meeting or help a student in need. Dr. Evans, and what he has done for St. Jude and for me personally, is a wonderful example of not only how Rhodes is a place that can change lives, but how Rhodes is a place of community, a place where its alumni and students remain tied through a special bond. I am so very honored to be a part of this lifelong community with all of you. And today, I am especially honored to introduce you to our speaker, one of my role models, Dr. Bill Evans himself.
Thank you, Maggie. It's always an honor to share the podium with you. Your story is so moving and inspirational. I really feel I should step aside and let you have the podium for the next 15 minutes. President Trout, Chairman Michaelchak, faculty, staff, thanks for this privilege to be the 2014 Baccalaureate speaker for Rhodes College. Let me begin at the very top, and that is to congratulate all the members of the 2014 graduating class. You are, yes, give it up. You've made it. Well, you're really close anyway. And you are surrounded today by family and friends and faculty who are all here to celebrate this important milestone. Of course, when you were accepted to Rhodes College all those years ago, we knew that you were smart, talented, caring, hardworking young people. But through your hard work, you have proven that to be the case. Now, I need to step back as a genomics researcher, as Maggie said, and point out to the students, particularly those who didn't take a lot of biology classes, that you should thank your parents for giving you the genes that allowed you to be a great student, and for also providing the environment in which that intellect could flourish. But it's been you that have put those gifts to hard work. And that's why we're all gathered here today and this weekend for this important moment in your life. You're soon to be Rhodes graduates, and stated simply, that's a big deal. It is a great accomplishment, and we should all celebrate, and I am sure we will, tonight and perhaps a little bit more tomorrow. But then what? After the balloons have fallen, after the champagne is no longer flowing, where to next? What then? Most of you have a pretty good idea of your next step. You're going to law school or med school, or you're going to graduate school or Teach for America, or you're going to take a year out and solidify your plans. And those are all good and logical next steps. But these things are your immediate future. Those are the things you can see now, probably very clearly, and you have a game plan already in place. My comments this afternoon are really not about what lies just ahead and in clear vision. Rather, I'd like to speak just a few moments about what's over the horizon, the unforeseen, the things that are on the distance landscape that perhaps are out of sight. So, how do you know, as Rhodes graduates, that you are ready for these unknowns? First of all, let me assure you that you are extremely well prepared. Your Rhodes education has provided you a solid, an incredible foundation on which to build your future and to deal with the unforeseen. And when I mention your Rhodes education, I'm not just talking about what you learned in the classroom or in the textbooks. I'm also talking about the interactions you had with other students on and off this beautiful campus, with conversations, often casual, with faculty and staff, and through your engagement in the community through service programs that are a distinguishing feature of Rhodes College. Now, when people talk about the unforeseen happening, they're often talking about not such good things that came out of the blue. And we know those things are going to come. It could be illness, it could be work stress, it could be personal relationships. Those are all part of life. How we deal with those will say a lot about who we are. And Rhodes has provided a strong foundation for you to deal with the inevitables. But almost certainly, you are going to have many more unforeseen events that are very positive things in your life, that are wonderful experiences, and that are great opportunities. In reflecting on my comments today, I was thinking back 40 years when I was sitting as a student about to graduate. I had an unforeseen opportunity to work at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital as a student. It was serendipity. I had a fraternity brother who was working at St. Jude. They had an opening, and he said, "Bill, would you like to, consider coming for this job? And it pays really well, $1.75 an hour." So, I said, okay, you seem to like what you're doing, and sounds like it could be an interesting adventure. And so I went to St. Jude. Now, my decision to go to work at St. Jude as a student was not a calculated decision. It wasn't my next step to become a scientist or become a chief executive. Those things were nowhere on my radar. For me, it was, however, an unforeseen opportunity that ended up changing my life and my career. Of course, I didn't know that at the time. But when I went to St. Jude, I was quickly captivated by the mission and by the culture of the organization. I had literally stumbled into a place that was doing very important work. And it was a place that was incredibly energized in 1972 when I began as a student. St. Jude had just completed a series of clinical protocols to evaluate new treatments for children with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And they had just published a major paper in a top medical journal that reported for the first time in 1972 cure rates that had increased from 4% to 50%. This publication put the word cure into the conversation about childhood leukemia. It also put St. Jude Children's Research Hospital literally on the map as a new leader in the battle against childhood cancers. The halls were really alive, and the staff were electric in terms of the momentum this progress had generated, and it was captivating to a young student. It also provided the real foundation for the culture of St. Jude that continues today. That's a culture of compassion, of innovation, and of collaboration. And for me as a young student, I connected to those characteristics. As I said, I had no idea I would ultimately spend my entire career at St. Jude. Now, when I had finished as a student and graduated from college, I had let St. Jude know I'd be interested in staying on, but there wasn't an opportunity. So I had taken a job at a university as a junior faculty member and sort of started my career, but I had let St. Jude know as I left that if there were ever an opportunity, I'd like to come back. And as you can tell, I did. In 1976, the phone rang. I had a chance to go. I wasn't a star recruit to their faculty, but I thought I could make a contribution. I knew I loved the organization, and I knew it was making a lot of progress. I looked at St. Jude at that time like a treadmill. It was going fast. I thought I could get on it and keep up for a while. But I knew that they were turning the speed up every year as they accelerated their efforts to find cures for cancer. But I thought if I could stay on a while, that until I got exhausted or couldn't keep up with the speed, that during that time I'd be able to initiate my research program, hopefully make some contributions, and then move on to another university. Fast forward 28 years, when the board of St. Jude asked me to become their chief executive officer. Very much an unforeseen opportunity. Now, becoming the CEO, as I said, was never in my game plan. I had never taken a business class. I had no MBA. I had not taken finance courses. I had no management training. All I had was common sense and a fair amount of self-confidence. Now, I got the self-confidence from my mother. She was always eager to step up and help if there were ever a situation. Fortunately, I got from my father the calmness and composure to not overreact with that self-confidence. Plus, I was really comfortable being around really smart people. So when I began to put together my management team or recruit faculty or students and staff to St. Jude, I liked being surrounded by people who were smarter than I. Perhaps that's why I'm having so much fun today, being surrounded by all these smart people. Looking back, when I was sitting where you are today, there was no way that I could have predicted really any of this. It was totally unforeseen. There was also no way to predict the success of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. The founder, Danny Thomas, probably had no idea it would become what it has today. Now, for those of you who are too young to know Danny Thomas, he described himself in the 1950s as a saloon comic. He was a comedian who was working clubs and radio and trying to make a go of it in his acting career, but he was struggling, and so he turned to St. Jude, the patron saint of hopeless causes, and made a vow that if he were to ever be successful in his career, that he would repay society in some way. He then went on to be a very successful actor and then a Hollywood producer, producing a number of TV shows. For some of you students who took a break of late night studying and turned on the TV, you may have seen the Andy Griffin Show, which is syndicated in reruns. That's one of his among several. So after that success, Danny said, okay, I'm going to fulfill this promise. And he started St. Jude. And he had a crazy business model. It had 4 pillars to it. First, he said, we're going to focus on childhood cancer, which was considered a death sentence in the 1960s. Secondly, he said, we're going to put it in Memphis, Tennessee, which was not exactly a hotbed of academic medicine. The third was, he said, we're going to make it open to all children of all races, colors, creeds, and religions. And then the fourth pillar of his business plan was that we weren't going to charge anybody for anything. Now, I am pretty sure that you're not going to find that business plan in any of the textbooks that you guys used. And there was no reason to think that it was necessarily going to work. And so when I was about to depart my university job, some of the senior professors pulled me aside and said, we need a mentoring session here. I think you better think twice about going to St. Jude. It's only 10 years old. This university's been here 100, 150 years. It's very stable. And you need to think about that, Bill, before you leave this faculty post. I was 26 years old. I didn't really care about stability. I was looking for opportunity. And St. Jude was a vibrant place, and I thought I could grow professionally and personally, and that I might be able to make a difference. So, I was where you are today, young, eager, not looking for a place where I could retire, but for a place where I could aspire to do more. By the way, I was pleased when earlier this week Forbes magazine published their ranking of where millennials prefer to work, where they'd like to work. And last year, St. Jude was ranked number 1, replacing Google. And then we remained number 1 again this year. So when it happened the first time, I had to Google millennials. to figure out what you guys are. I learned that these were people born between 1980 and the early 2000s, but I wanted to know more about why it was you were resonating with St. Jude. I found out you're multitaskers, and I'm so happy nobody's on their iPhone right now. You also like an appropriate work-life balance. You want to do something meaningful in your careers, and you like collaboration. So these are all things that sound a lot like the culture of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And we're looking forward to having a lot of new millennials continue to help advance our mission. So no one could have known that St. Jude would become quite a successful institution. I don't even think Danny Thomas or Don Pinkel, the first CEO, knew that cure rates would go from 4% to 94% for leukemia, as Maggie said, that a St. Jude faculty member would win a Nobel Prize, that there would literally be millions of donors and volunteers across this country who support St. Jude and who make sure it has the resources for that business plan to work. And I can tell you, 52 years later, we're still following the same business plan. No one has ever paid at St. Jude. There's an interesting quote of Danny Thomas, our founder, when he was trying to get others to support St. Jude and donate the money to build the building. He said, "I think someday I can raise up to $1 million a year for St. Jude." This year, our budget is $2 million a day, 7 days a week. And the public continue to make that mission possible. So my message for the graduates today is a pretty simple one. If you find a place with a compelling mission, with the right people, with a strong culture, and if it feels right to you, don't be afraid to join an unconventional organization or to go in a direction you haven't rehearsed. To paraphrase Ecclesiastes, if a person waits for perfect weather, he will never plant his seeds. And if she is afraid that every cloud will bring rain, she will never harvest her crops. You don't know where the wind will blow. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't know where your wind will blow, but you should know that you are well prepared. Rhodes has not given you all the answers. Rather, Rhodes has helped you build a foundation upon which you will flourish, regardless of what awaits you. So my advice is pick your moments. Then, in the words of Peter, engage with goodness, and goodness with knowledge, and knowledge with self-control, and self-control with endurance, and endurance with mutual care, and mutual care with love. And don't forget the love. Today's world is a rapidly changing place. It needs smart, compassionate, caring people like you to ensure that those changes are for the greater good. You're leaving Rhodes ready for these challenges. My premise today is that you should be excited about the unforeseen because you are ready to grasp it and to make it something even better. We know you will make the world a better place, and of course, we're counting on you doing just that. So I encourage you to go forth, engage with goodness and knowledge and endurance and self-control and love. I promise you are ready, and as my granddaughters would say, let it go.
right. Look around you. We are surrounded by some who have always been a part of our lives. We are in the midst of those who have coached, taught, challenged, counseled, consoled, inspired, and pushed us to be people we never knew we could be. Look around you. We are surrounded by those who became friends, who cared as family, who pushed us in ways we never expected. Today, we are surrounded by a larger story about who we are and what we are becoming. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us.